Republican Congressman Steve Scalise and Jim Jordan today confirmed that they would each like to be next in line to hold the Speaker's gavel. Now, Scalise and Jordan are not exactly known as moderate consensus builders, but if this sounds like it's going from bad to worse for House Democrats, Axios is reporting that at least some moderate Republicans may be considering another alternative. My advice, one of these moderates told Axios, is to cut a deal with the Dems and stick it to the nitwits. The nitwits here being presumably the MAGA right wing. Another moderate Republican, Congressman Don Bacon, added, I would recommend seeking a more bipartisan way forward. We need to make some rules changes, no doubt about it. We need to make these 8 McCarthy rebels irrelevant. Joining me now is Democrat from Wisconsin, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. She, of course, leads the House Progressive Caucus. Congresswoman Jayapal, thank you for being here. I want to read back to a quote from you before the motion to vacate vote. There is reason after reason to just let Republicans deal with their own problems. Let them wallow in their pigsty of incompetence and inability to govern. I believe we call that a mic drop quote. Congresswoman, and while the pigsty of incompetence has been, the doors to that pigsty have been thrown open for the world to see, is there any movement inside the Democratic caucus to have conversations with Republicans as they try and figure out who the next Speaker of the House is going to be?
Well, Alex, look, picking a speaker is the first duty of the majority. And it is never the case, historically, it is never the case that Democrats would vote for a Republican speaker. This is really their family problem. And they have shown, it's been exactly 10 months now, they have shown that they can't govern over and over again. I mean, the idea that there is anyone more extreme than Kevin McCarthy is just not true, because Kevin McCarthy, whether you think he was extreme or he governed as an extremist, the reality is everything he did was really contributed to the destruction of our institutions. The debt ceiling, turning that into a fight in the first place, taking the country to the brink of a debt crisis, taking the country to the brink of a shutdown crisis, and then passing bills at every turn that empowered his right-wing extremists in the caucus. And he did that from day one, Alex, when he agreed to a rules change after 15 rounds of voting for Speaker. Anybody else would have been humiliated at that point. But Kevin McCarthy kept going, and he basically got to the place where any single person in the House could bring up a motion to vacate. And that's why he's been catering in this way. Any speaker that comes after him is going to have the same issue. So this is not for Democrats to wade into this pigsty. It is really for Republicans to choose their speaker, but recognize that we're always ready to work with Republicans who want to be bipartisan. Their structure right now does not permit that. The candidates they're putting forward, I don't think are going to be any different. And the so-called moderates in their party have not stood up to any of this. There are so many times, Alex, when they could have crossed over, just 5 of them, crossed over and passed sensible reforms with us, whether it was, averting the shutdown, whether it was, the debt ceiling crisis, whether it was sensible bipartisan legislation, but they haven't.
Okay, let me make one thing clear. I called you the Congresswoman from Wisconsin, which is obviously not true. Washington State. I apologize for that. But let me understand what you're saying here, because I'm not by any means suggesting that this is Democrats' mess to clean up. But as the old proverb goes, every crisis is an opportunity. And if there is, right. If this situation presents an opportunity for Democrats to steer Republicans and moderates to a more empowered position, to pick someone who is not beholden to the right flank, wouldn't it make sense to use that opportunity?
Well, I think it depends on what it is. And any kind of discussions along those lines would have to be negotiated by our leader, our choice for Speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, not individually. It's got to be something that would really bring power to the caucus to be able to govern. Because remember, whatever we do that contributes to a Republican speaker being there, we will be blamed for everything that they do. So maybe they do some good things, but what about all the bad things that they do? So if there was some way, perhaps down the road, where a bunch of Republicans came and said, let's think about power sharing agreements? Maybe, but that's above my pay grade right now. That is really, I think, something that Republicans would have to want. Clearly, McCarthy didn't want that. I'm not sure any of the current candidates that are running want that either. And so I think it's really important for the country to understand this is not a Democratic problem. We, of course, are always open to the opportunities to govern for the American people. But there's got to be some reasonableness about power sharing, because the other thing I'll just say is, actually, in some ways, Democrats have been the governing force so far. Republicans could not pass the debt ceiling deal on their own. In fact, Kevin McCarthy made a deal with the president and then immediately reneged on it and then relied on Democratic votes in the rule, which is a procedural motion. We never vote for each other's procedural motions, but a couple of Democrats went over so that we could pass that rule, and then ultimately so that that debt ceiling deal could be negotiated. But they continue to rely on us for all of this, and yet they're continuing to do terrible things that hurt the American people in the country.
I wouldn't even say in some ways the Democrats have been the governing force in American politics. They have been the force. The reason things are getting done is because Democrats have been willing to cross the aisle and have the tough conversations. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington State, no disrespect to Wisconsin. My sincere apologies for that mistake. Thank you for joining me. Good luck in the dumpster fire that is the Republican-led Congress right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alex.